થેન્ક યુ શંકર અંકલ. શંકર અંકલ એક સરસ વાત કરી કે એમનું એક્ઝામ્પલ લઈને કે શ્રવણ, હા, કે સાંભળતા પણ શીખો. અને મહંત સ્વામી ખૂબ સુંદર એનું ઉદાહરણ આપે છે. મહંત સ્વામીનું જે પ્રવચન હોય એકદમ મનનીય હોય. એટલે બધાએ પૂછ્યું કે તમે આટલું બધું સરસ કઈ રીતે બોલો છો? કે જ્યારથી હું સાધુ બન્યો, કે જ્યારથી હું સાધનામાં આવ્યો, ત્યારથી નાનામાં નાનો બાળક હોય એને પણ હું ખૂબ ધ્યાનથી સાંભળું છું. એટલે શંકર અંકલે સરસ પોઈન્ટ આપ્યો. અને બીજી એમને વાત કરી કે ભાઈ તમને હું જોઉં છું અને મને આજે આનંદ નથી થતો તો ક્યારે થશે? વિચ ઇઝ વેરી ટ્રુ, રાઈટ? કે જે છે તે અત્યારે જ છે. અને આપણે જે ગઈકાલે સારંગપુર બેની વાત કરી કે જ્યારે આપણે તમને જોઈએ છે ત્યારે નવું જ દર્શન છે. હે, બધું ફરગેટ ધ પેસ્ટ, હે, ફરગેટ ધ ફ્યુચર, હે, ધ પ્રેઝન્ટ ઇઝ પ્રેઝન્ટ ફોર અસ. તમે મળ્યા છો એ જ અમને મોટી ભેટ છે. પ્રેઝન્ટ ઇઝ પ્રેઝન્ટ. તો હવે વિધાઉટ ટેકિંગ ફર્ધર ટાઈમ આપણે હવેના જે વક્તા છે એમને બોલાવીએ. सूजी है नाम जिसका पीएचडी की शिक्षा पाए, अपनी विद्या से वो मानवता को प्रचारे, अपना ज्ञान देकर दिनकर की आशीष पाए, ब्रह्म रूप होकर हम सबका काज को राजी कर ले. जय जय स्वामी नारायण, जय जय स्वामी नारायण. सूजी भाई.
Sit sorry, Martin. Um, according to the American or Gregorian calendar, April 2nd, 3rd is the birthday of Swaminarayan Bhagwan, same day as Lord Ram. And Swaminarayan Bhagwan, during his own lifetime, he wasn't shy to reveal who he was. He, as a wrestler who oils himself up, in India they had that. They'll oil themselves up, oil their mustache, and in Vasi uncle's words, say, "Ao Medanma." Swami used to wrestle, and he openly said, "I am Lord, I am Bhagwan." And it was easy for those to believe such a thing because of, the energy, because of what God, that he had manifested in 1781. Many people were able to easily accept Swaminarayan Bhagwan as God. And today, those that are in touch with the ancestors, like my dad recently, he is in touch with the Peri of Kushal Kuwarba. Many of us know. They live in Naperville also. And so they have a natural belief in Swaminarayan Bhagwan as God. My grandfather, he was not, there are a few people who outside of the ancestry, 2 million people were in touch with Swaminarayan Bhagwan. And so all those that came in his company believed that this is Bhagwan. Just as in the time of Ram, in the time of Krishna, people in the company of God, they had a feeling that this is God, and they enjoyed that God is always with us. That's the topic that Pintu has given me, and I was going to give 2-3 ways that we can experience such a thing in our lives. Because ultimately, I can listen and I can talk, but if I don't practice or if I don't live such a life, I don't think I can experience that. And the people in Bhagwan's time, they had experienced that God is always with us. But my grandfather was one of the special people where he never came in touch with Swaminarayan, but he believed that Swaminarayan was Bhagwan to such an extent that one of the, Parikshitbhai had mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, one of the boons that Swaminarayan Bhagwan gave was that at the end of our life, he would come and take us. And my grandfather, he was, I think in the parlance of this group, I consider him Gunatit. And he Bhagwan, he told my grandmother that Bhagwan is here. And so bring the arti. So she brought the arti, he did arti, and he said that now I'm going. And he went, and that's how he passed away. And so he had a strong connection with Swaminarayan Bhagwan, and because of that, my dad also believed in Swaminarayan, and because of my dad, I believe in Swaminarayan as God. But the question that someone like Kakaji, he was educated in London, the London School of Economics, me and Avni went there. The question is, see, India is such a place that it was kind of siloed from the rest of the world, with the Himalayas and the oceans. And India naturally had a belief in God's manifestation. Many gods, many saints, people believe that I am with God. And who wouldn't want to touch and hug God, right? That's why we're all here. And so Kakaji he was London educated, and he asked that how can I meet God today? How can God be with me today? But the answer that I believe Kakaji gave, and this is my takeaway, of course there's so many other takeaways from his life, but what I see from Kakaji's life is his belief in God was a little different, because he didn't say that God is in these powers, in miracles. This is the 20th century. We don't see, science explains away most miracles. But what Kakaji said is that God is in the saint. He is in Yogi Ji Maharaj. In the qualities of a saint, I see Godhood. And I was telling these guys, I had the dream. I tell Avni about my dreams that we put a statue of Vandan in the Pavai Mandir. And it's not for you to put it or me to put it, but my own belief that in the qualities that I see in him, I can feel God. Because there's objectively, the world, unfortunately, what the world is going toward is objectivity. Science objectifies things. Everything is black or white, true or false. But because of that, happiness goes away, unfortunately. So there's a subjective nature that you must find happiness in. And so Kakaji said that I believe in the form of Yogi Bapa, in the Sakar Svarup, in the qualities that he possesses, in saintliness, in garibta, in humility, I'm going to see God. So God was always with Kakaji. But the thing about Kakaji was he didn't stop there. Kakaji saw God in his brother. He said that this brother of mine is not a brother, he is God. Now for us to believe in Papaji, it has nothing to do with Kakaji, but he himself believed it. And then Kakaji did something miraculous. He said, in my friend, Swamiji was his friend, Hariprasad Swamiji. Sahib was his disciple and his friend. He said that in them I see God. Today we can put their murtis and we can say that we see God everywhere. But I don't think that's going to do it fully and for my own self. Shankar uncle said, Guru, Gar Guru. My wife is my Guru. I've learned so much from her. And one of the things I've learned from her is Tvameva Mata Chapita Tvameva. She told me the first thing, that my parents are my God. For you Swaminarayan people, you have other ways, but my parents are my God. And I have now come to the realization, the wisest man I know is my father. The most loving person in my life is my mother. And there's no evolutionary explanation of the love that my mom gave. She, for me, is 100% God. I don't have to go anywhere else. God is with me in my home, in the wisdom of my father, in the love of my mother, in the love of my wife, in my brother, just like Kakaji. This is what he taught. If you see Bhagwan and Papaji, it's very well, but you're going to have to see it in other ways. And more than that, for 20 years, in the friendship that I have with KP, in the friendship I have with Amit, in the friendship that I have with Pintu, whether you all believe or not, or whatever you believe, it's up to you. But in my friendship with them, I have seen God. In the laughter that humans have, animals don't have as much. How much we cry, animals don't cry. In the laughter and the tears that we have shared, we have witnessed God. And so, for me, in the form of my friends, Amit, KP, Pintu, Suraj, Jason, and my brother Truptesh, and my dad and mom, God is always with me. It is up to me to live such a way. If I say it and don't live it, it will be my loss. And I truly have experienced it. And then the beauty of it is God spreads. At my work, I tell Avni, there are people. There's 2 ladies. If my shirt is untucked, is not right, they'll fix it for me. They say, we're your mother. Padma auntie, or grandma, or Nain auntie. God comes as a mother in more forms. And see, that's the beauty that God has said, that you must create your own relationship. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Swaminarayan Bhagavan died at the age of 49. Very short life. He showed he was God. To whatever extent. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also lived till 48, about the same age. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said he was the form of Radha as the form of God. Right, Kirtan Swami? So God took the form of Radha in the way of a devotion, by way of a devotee. God can also express himself. Now, the beauty of it is I can believe my mom is God. It doesn't take away anything from you. You can believe in your own, And that is the first lesson that I learned from Kakaji. That in life around you, you will see God and you will love it. Love will be miraculous, and this, God will be miraculous. And this is this is the story of Hinduism. Hinduism has taught this. And there are a couple other lessons that Kakaji has taught us. The other is being open / being authentic. When you be authentic, you are your own person. The God that Kakaji has seen is not going to be the God you see. The God that CM Uncle believes, the God that Sunal Uncle, the life he lives, the life that Rashmi Uncle lives, the life that Sunal, I don't have to copy them. But I must be open, that I must say that because what you're doing is different from me, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. And I had a long learning lesson. I used to believe, very openly I'm telling you, I used to believe that outside of me, outside this group, everyone in the world is wrong. And then I came to the realization that I was actually wrong. Because what happens is in time, that, you believe in Krishna, I believe in Swaminarayan, I'm greater. You believe in Vartal, I believe in Akshar Purushottam, I'm greater. You believe in Pramukh Swami, I believe in Kakaji, I'm greater. You believe in Guruji, I believe in Dinkar Uncle, I'm greater. That's not satsang. How are you going to see God everywhere? And that's that's what we have to stop. There is a very awesome guy, Pankaj Mishra, worth reading. So there was these attacks that happened, and the Muslims and parts of Christianity, their lesson was very easy. You believe in Allah, you are saved. You say that Jesus is God, that's it. Nothing else to do. You are done. For them, that's their authentic self. And I don't know. I cannot be their judge. Perhaps it is for them. But then Hindus started fighting. They said that, no, only Hinduism, only Krishna is God, only Swaminarayan is God. So then Pankaj Mishra said, you're not being authentic to Hinduism. That Hinduism itself is to see the divinity, to see manifestation in others. What you're doing is you're mimicking Islam or you're mimicking Christianity. So the second lesson that Kakaji taught us is you have to be true to yourself. And my true self is different from your true self. I see Sappan is happy. And he is. And he has found God. And I cannot deny that. But my God may be something else. And Kakaji taught that. But the beautiful thing is that only you are going to be the witness to it. No one is going to be. There's a guy, Sappan knows, Thomas Paine. He wrote a book called Common Sense. the second president of the United States, John Adams, he said that if it wasn't for the pen of Thomas Paine and the sword of George Washington, we wouldn't be in America today. I mean, India is a great culture, I say that, but I love America. Avni knows. Every day I say, this is the greatest world. This is the greatest country in the world. Kakaji used to say that also, right? And sure, there are problems. I recently am reading Arundhati Roy. She talks about all the problems of America. And it's an eye-opener. But we have to be open, and we see that God is in these people. But then Thomas Paine, the reason that this country is free today, when he died, 6 people came to his funeral. 2 of them were blacks. And the reason is because his authentic self, he said who he believed. This is who I am. If people don't accept it, that's up to them. So there's a nice saying. I'm reading, Amit was saying he went to Philadelphia. And Thomas Paine, he wrote a beautiful thing about him when he died. The person because of whom we are in this country, when he died, 6 people were at his funeral. 2 of them slaves. They say Thomas Paine had passed his legendary limit. One by one, his old friends and acquaintances, they deserted him. They left him. They maligned him. They said that his virtues, they're actually vices. His services were very soon forgotten. His character was blackened. Does it remind you of Kakaji? He was a victim of the people, but his convictions remained unshaken. When Einstein, he had his own belief in God. Einstein saw God in math. Jayu was saying, I want to go in math. Math is a beautiful subject. Einstein saw God in math. So the Israel state, they told him, you become the first prime minister of Israel. Einstein said, that's not my authentic self. I believe in the God of Spinoza. Spinoza was a person who was excommunicated from the Jewish community because he believed in a different sort of God. And he took shelter in the Netherlands. The first republic of the world was the Netherlands. The second is Switzerland, ours is third because of Thomas Paine. So in America, he says he was a soldier in the army of freedom. And still, he tried to enlighten and civilize those who were impatiently waiting for his death. Even those who loved their enemies hated him. But he was the friend of the whole world. Sarva Bhutanam, Suradam Sarva Bhutanam. He was friends with everyone. Only 6 people were his friend, but he was the friend of everyone because he lived with an authentic ideal. And so the takeaway for myself, I see you people are living your ideal selves, but we each have different characters. As a takeaway, what I have learned from the life of Kakaji is Kakaji saw divinity in the form of God, in the form of Yogi Maharaj, in the form of his brother and his friends. Now, Kakaji saw a very miracle thing. He saw God in the form of women, in his sister and his mother. You know what the Swamini Vato says? Swamini Vato says women can't be Brahmarup. Do we accept everything Swamini Vato says is true? But he went against the Swamini Vato. The Gita says that women, chapter 9, verse 24, women are inferior intellect. I don't believe in that verse of the Gita. I don't believe in that verse of Swamini Vato because I'm of the 21st century. And so, if Kakaji, he authentically said, I see Bhagwan in Sonaba. There's a large group that does not believe it, but Kakaji believed it. He felt the bliss of Kakaji in these forms. And so now it is up to us, in each our own way. But charity begins at home. I am lucky. I have the best mother. My mummy is sarvapari, I know that. But I'm lucky that I have such a mother, such a father, such a friend, such friends like Pintu and Amit and KP, and a best brother. He has been my constant caretaker. But the more I'm open, the more I see God in others. It's not something to be said, it's something to be experienced. So when you walk out, whatever your wife says, when you listen, you will experience God. And the most, and these are all Kakaji's formulas. Kakaji, one more, after women. See, Kakaji didn't rest. After he said, women are Bhagwan, Swamiji said, Bulku is Gunatit Sthiti. In Anaya, in Jia, you can see God. Because this innocence is, the apple symbol. You see, it's the bite out of the apple. We have fallen from heaven because now we have too much knowledge. But I have experienced, I was 1 year with my brother, with Ayush. And the sukh he gave me, the bliss that Ayush gave me, I cannot, for years and years, I can remember it. And I tell Avni that. At the age of 4, he would say every week, I'm going to sleep over at my kaka's house. And his house, my house was my room. So at the age of 4, he would bring his alarm clock and water bottle and come and sleep in my room. And for me, that was bliss. And to this day, I remember that happiness that he gave. Whether you experience it or not, it's up to you. But the mother and a child knows that they see divinity. It's not you cannot explain it by evolution. And so the lessons that Kakaji taught is something that if we say Kakaji is great, that won't do it. We must live this life, and we must live it our own way, our own authentic way. And so I pray, Dinkar Uncle and others, they have lived such a way, such a life. Seth, who is in touch with Kakaji. But we each, for me, Pintu has been my constant companion to keep me in touch with this. But I'm not far away. Everywhere I see, everywhere I go, I do wish to see divinity. And I thank you for being patient with me as I discover God everywhere. Sit down, Swami Maharaj. Let me just see. I had one more. I'm sorry. Now I'm looking at my notes. There's one more thing where Kakaji taught. One more way we can see God everywhere. We can see God in our family. We can see God in our friends. So He's always with us. We can see God in our authentic self. Be who you are. You can see God in being open. But the last thing Kakaji taught, Swaminarayan Bhagwan taught us, you can see God by serving. There was a TED conference, me and Avni went, where $5 were given to young kids like Sahaj. And they were given 3 options. You spend $5 on yourself, and most people Sahaj's age went to Starbucks and got a $5 coffee. Mayagar, we get free. Second group were asked, you donate to a organization online. And they did that. And then the third group, they were asked, you donate to someone you know. See, that subjective nature. And they said, who were happiest? Those that spent money on themselves weren't happy. God has made us such that we cannot be happy by being egotistic, by being greedy. We must be in service. That's the only way we can be happy. God has given us such a gift. Only by loving your wife, only by loving your child will you be happy. There is no other way. You cannot love yourself. You'll always be sad. So they said that the people that donated, they were happier. But the happiest were those that met someone. They met the poor person, they took him and they donated and they made a relationship. And so this service at a personal level is the last way you can really experience God. And I'll tell you, me and Avni, who wouldn't? They say women, when they're born, Gar Thuti Mati, they have fantasies of being a beautiful bride and a nice wedding, which is great. But Avni, we were discussing that. Let's forego this money. And she said, we create a website called wherecanidonate.org. And the purpose was to help people, and we can see, are we feeling happier? If more than happiness of a wedding, do we get happiness? I said, yes, but it's too out, it's not connected enough. We have to do what Sapan does. You have to go to the root. There's doctors who go to Africa, and they'll serve the black kids, and they find God there. And 100% you will find God here. I'm not saying that. But you have to find, where will you find it? And be your authentic self and find in these ways. But Kakaji has given us these formulas by service, by family, by those we are connected to, and by being open, we'll definitely see God everywhere. Sajan Swayamarat Nije.